We are here with Rich Eisen talking Trey Lance. Trey Lance is one of the most unbelievable. I think it's so underrated, the Trey Lance situation. I think this is something we will study in the sports world for decades to come. Trey Lance will be talked about the same way that Johnny Manziel or Jamarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf or Kwame Brown. He will be one of these cases where people look at it and they try and figure it out for decades. It's crazy to think about everything that led up to Trey Lance, the 49ers trading up to get him, getting him, and then him never playing. It's almost like, I mean, they were tricked, but the more you see, the more you hear, it's just, to me, it's more unbelievable. A friend of mine gave me this stat, so I'll give you this stat. In 2021, Joe Burrow had, I'm paraphrasing now, Joe Burrow had 521 pass attempts. In Trey Lance's entire career, NFL, college, and high school, he's thrown less passes. He might have the smallest resume of any quarterback ever drafted in the NFL. Ever. Got the stat. Wanted to make sure I got it right. I was thinking about the stat there. Joe Burrow in the 2021 regular season had 520 pass attempts. Trey Lance has 519 pass attempts total in his entire playing career, high school and college included. So yeah, I was like one pass off on what I said. It's crazy to think that somehow got the 49ers into a trap where they've traded up so much to get Trey Lance. They've had so much success without him, and now they're kind of stuck with him, and he cannot get to a level to where they can even play him. He can't even get to a level enough to where he may be good enough to play or he may be competitive. He flat out just can't do it.
I don't feel we have carped on Trey Lance nationally. I don't think we are part of the national media that has been critical of Trey Lance.
I think we've been one of the few shows who is pro Trey Lance. Because we just want to see him play.
We met him and we liked him, and that kind of influences your opinion, right?
All I'm doing when I sit here to talk about him is look at his predicament.
You're just being honest.
And he has a predicament that he's a kid.
Here's his predicament. He can't play quarterback in the NFL. That's it. This is something I've never understood, is this kind of narrative. The narrative of like, he's just a kid. He's got a tough situation. You know, he's got this. Look, I look at sports / the NFL / whatever as like a job. I have certainly worked with people who get hired for a job, and pretty quickly everyone realizes, oh man, we messed this up. You know, like this person can't do this. They somehow tricked us in the interview process. They cannot do what's asked of them, and they're gone. No one says like, oh man, there's a kind of a predicament. You know, they're just a kid. Like, that's not how it works in the real world. It certainly shouldn't work any different in the NFL, because Trey Lance is getting paid millions of dollars to hold a spot that 50 people in the world have a job doing as a quarterback in the NFL. The Niners, I have my own theories. My working theory is that when they traded up to get Trey Lance, or I think they got the second overall pick, and I believe they wanted to package that pick or third pick, whatever it was, whatever. I think they wanted to package that in a trade for Aaron Rodgers at the time. I think the trade fell through. They had to make a pick. I think they were going to take Mac Jones. But I think they were so high, they had moved so far up in the draft that they felt like they were reaching on Mac Jones. And they felt that the criticism would have been too much. And so the front office balked at Mac Jones. I believe the front office thought Trey Lance had upside. And because he was a project, I feel like they thought, okay, if we take him here and we develop him, if he's good, it'll all work out. That's what I think the plan was. I think then Trey Lance didn't develop, and they were holding this giant bag of, we put in all this draft capital, this guy can't play. What do we do? Meanwhile, they're winning with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're winning with Brock Purdy. So now they're in a situation where they have a guy who they've won with in Brock Purdy, who they took in the Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round. And then they have a guy that they traded the farm for. And they have no choice. They have to play the 7th rounder. It really is an unbelievable paradox that they're put into.
Who last played consistent quarterback organized football in 2019.
It's been a while.
That's a fact.
He played the first game in 2020 and then
COVID.
North Dakota State,
right.
had to shut down their season.
Right.
And then
the 2021 draft.
And then
in 2021 he
got injured.
He played a little bit. He threw the first touchdown pass of the Niners season in 2021 because the idea was he would be the guy in the red zone creating problems in the red zone, and Jimmy G would just go from 20 to 20, and then all of a sudden it's like, let's just stick with Jimmy G.
Yeah.
And then he got the shot to start the season, as any third overall pick is going to get heck or high water. He's going to start.
And it was a monsoon in Chicago that day.
Didn't look that great.
Not a fair assessment.
And then week 2, off on a cart. See you later.
Yeah.
This is something else that I disagree with a lot of people talk about quarterbacks. It's like, well, we haven't really got a chance to see him. We haven't got a chance to see him. He's only played a handful of plays. There's a monsoon in Chicago. But they forget that Kyle Shanahan, Mike McDaniel was on the staff at the time. The entire 49ers staff has watched him through practice, warm-ups, training camp, drills. They've been in the film rooms with him. Like, they've been with him a whole lot. And they still know he can't play. So to say, like, oh, man, we've only seen him in, 20 plays in the NFL, that's not true. That's not true at all. The Niners have been with him for 3 years. And he's so bad in their eyes, again, I'm just talking what they're telling me, that he's 3rd on the depth chart. He's slipping behind Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold. You have to take into account the practice reps, the training camps, the OTAs, the film sessions, the workouts, the conversations. You have to take all that into account. You can't just take into account a rainy day in Chicago.
And so they got Sam Darnold, and how many people have I asked, is Sam Darnold there as Purdy insurance or Lance insurance? And the answer was he was there as Purdy insurance. When he was brought in, Brock Purdy was just fresh off of wing surgery. So when I say, hey, Brandon Allen's getting all the snaps, does that mean in some way, shape, or form, or not all the snaps, a large number of snaps, does that mean he's somehow, somewhere they're using him as Lance insurance? I don't, it's just a simple question that you're asking, and then you just see what you saw on Sunday. Darnold looked way more comfortable.
Lance was awful in the preseason game. Terrible. Should have thrown 2 or 3 interceptions. The one touchdown he threw was off the defender's hands. I also have a theory that the Niners tried to boost his trade value. And they tried to say, he looks good, he can do this, whatever. And they want to ship him. They want to get something back for him. I think now it's too obvious. I think now he can't even put together a good preseason showing or a good performance in the game. He can't even do that enough to where they can trade him. I think it's over. I think the Niners will move off Trey Lance. And I think this, again, say what you want about Jamarcus Russell. Say what you want about Ryan Leaf. At least they played. At least they got on the field and fell apart and whatever happened. This has never, ever, ever happened before. That someone gets drafted this high up with this much capital invested in them and they don't even see the field. And you may say, oh, James, blank player. What about blank player? I'm not talking about injuries. So eliminate people who got hurt, eliminate people who, got into a motorcycle crash or something, whatever. This is strictly because he can't play. Johnny Manziel, he played. Jamarcus Russell, he played. He failed. Ryan Leaf played, failed. They didn't play well, but they got on the field. The Niners can't even put him on the field. but somehow he was taken 3rd overall. Wild.
Well, and Lance looked a lot more shaky, and it's obvious, as David Shaw pointed out on Monday's show, Darnold looked like a guy who's played 55 games in the National Football League, and Lance looked like a guy who hasn't played a lot of organized ball since 2019. That's the way it is, unfortunately for him. Michael Lombardi, our friend, on
Lombardi, I listen to a lot of Eisen, as y'all know. It's my go-to sports content channel. Lombardi does not like Trey Lance. Lombardi has been very vocal about how bad the situation is.
His pod was very good. Basically said something along the lines that, you know, when his mom took him out of the crib, he didn't have the abilities or the idea of how to play quarterback. Or I shouldn't bottom line is, I'm paraphrasing him saying Lance isn't very good and is not going to be very good in this league.
Yeah.
Cue the question of Kyle Shanahan on Wednesday.
Coach, there's been a lot of negativity around Trey Lance in the national media recently. Yesterday, there was somebody coming out saying that Trey doesn't have the quarterback instinct. What do you have to say about that kind of comment?
It just goes with the territory. I mean, it goes with it for quarterbacks. It goes with it for anybody who's a high draft pick, but especially a quarterback. You watch, and that's one of the tough things, I think, for that position, but also for high draft picks. I mean, you watch receivers come in the league and they have a few drops early in camp, and there becomes a lot of pressure on them. People want to see those people take off and do it right away and have no flaws, and that's just part of it.
Kyle Shanahan also said that, paraphrasing, he said that Brock Purdy would have to melt on the field to lose the starting job. Kyle Shanahan can say all this, but Kyle Shanahan for the last 3 years, and y'all know, Kyle Shanahan is my favorite coach in the NFL. Kyle Shanahan has had the opportunity to play Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan has told us in every single moment, Trey Lance doesn't have it. The bottom line is, by what the Niners have done, they have proven Trey Lance is not better than Sam Darnold. He's not better than Brock Purdy. He's not better than Jimmy Garoppolo. They've told us that. He's not even good enough for like specific packages and schemes.
Anything you've had to address with him, or is he pretty good as far as the mindset, knowing what comes with the territory?
I mean, Trey is extremely smart, very socially aware. He knows how the world works, and so he does his best, which I think he does a damn good job of trying to block that out and just focus on getting better, and I think that's what he's done so far.
When his mom lifted him up from the crib, he didn't have that QB instinct, is what Michael Lombardi tweeted out. He won't win the backup QB spot based on what I've seen and heard. Very demonstrative.
He won't. He will not be the backup. I guarantee it.
And if he doesn't win the backup quarterback spot, he's going to be the third, and he will be there. And he will be there. And I have a feeling Sam Darnold's not going to play very much this year either.
I think he will. I've gone on record saying I think Sam Darnold will end up being the starting quarterback in San Francisco. I think Darnold's better than Purdy. Unless Brock Purdy is way better than I believe he is. And I could be wrong. But I think Darnold gives the Niners the best chance of success. If Mac Jones would have been drafted by the 49ers and Mac Jones was the starting quarterback last year, I think the Niners probably go to the Super Bowl. I mean, they were that close with Brock Purdy. You know what I mean? I like the Brock Purdy story. Physically, I just don't know if I've seen enough to make him like a franchise quarterback.
I believe in Brock Purdy, and so does this team. And I don't see, unless Purdy's hurt, that they're going to take him out.
Yeah, I mean, I think he may be bad.
Brock Purdy will be removed from action this year due to ineffectiveness, and the Niners need to see what they can get out of Sam Darnold. Yay or nay, Chris Brockman?
I could absolutely see it, especially with Purdy dealing with an injury. I could see Purdy re-injuring himself, or maybe just being inefficient, and the Niners kind of giving him a second. Darnold comes in, they're efficient, and they just stick with Darnold. I can see that.
Rich, I think that defense is so great that they're going to keep them in a bunch of games, so I'm going to say no.
I'll say no, too.
I also think it has to do with Shanahan's kind of arrogance about the.
You just can't.
I don't think that's so weird because Shanahan is, if anything, Shanahan has proven he doesn't care who the quarterback is, as long as it's not Trey Lance. He's cool with it being Jimmy G. He's cool with it being Brock Purdy. He'll just roll whoever's in there. Whoever's in there, he's rolling. I mean, to me, he's shown he has no arrogance when it comes to who his starting quarterback is.
Get off that.
I'm not alone. I mean, I read everyone's comments. I'm not alone in thinking that.
Man, oh man. It's not arrogance. I mean, his arrogance would have been what? If he was arrogant, he would be starting Lance. That's arrogance.
He didn't draft Lance. That's another. He didn't want Lance. He wanted Mac Jones. I think the front office didn't want the backlash of Mac Jones. I think they forced him. I think they forced Trey Lance on him. So I don't think he ever wanted Trey Lance. I don't think he drafted Trey Lance.
Like I saw Lance.
That's an interesting point.
I
Okay.
drafted Lance. I
understand
traded
that.
up,
Okay.
and in the middle of pro days, I traded up,
I don't think he did.
and not for anybody but Trey Lance, and he is going to play. I don't care how bad he looks.
I mean, you do have to give him credit for just saying like I'm not playing. So many other coaches would have been under the pressure to play this guy, but Shanahan said no. I mean, how many? You talk about some guts. He's got a 3rd overall pick he traded the farm for on his bench, and he's rolling who the hell ever else out there. I mean, to be able to swallow that trade and that pick, and because the Niners to me have basically said we're done. We're done with this project. We're done with this development. By him being 3rd string or 4th string or whatever he is right now, I might be ahead of him on the depth chart. For them to say that and just acknowledge like we messed up, we goofed, we screwed up, we're going to get nothing back for this. We're going to get 0 back for this. It takes a legitimate organization, a legit front office coach, however you want to put it, to do that.
That's a fair retort.
Okay.
What if they had just drafted Mac Jones, like everyone thought in the first place when they traded?
I mean, I'm so far ahead of these people, it blows my mind. Blows my mind how much better I am at this.
It up to number 3.
Well, Bailey Zappi would be starting week 1.
This is not an opportunity to troll on me.
No,
I'm just asking a real question.
Because you wouldn't. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Bailey Zappi would be starting week 1 because he wouldn't be where you are. That's what I'm saying.
Or maybe Tom Brady came back
to New England.
Yeah.
That's an interesting what if. I mean, we're really going down the what if wormhole here.
Crazier things have happened.
But in all seriousness, I have no idea.
Jones was really good. I mean, that's something else you got to remember. Jones was good. I think Jones gets unfairly criticized. I think Mac Jones is better than people give him credit for. But if Mac Jones certainly, I think, would have had real success in San Francisco. If they would, and I think San Francisco, you never know about winning a Super Bowl, but I think they would have been there.
I have no idea. You did see. Look, man. Here's the thing.
They've gone out on a limb, though, to really defend Purdy and come out in a way that Bill hasn't with Mac Jones.
Well, it's just
say
that's
that
Bill's
he's
way.
the starter.
That's Bill's way.
So, yeah, he's going to play the whole year no matter what.
Brock Purdy is exactly what you're hoping for in the NFL. Somebody who will take care of the football, somebody who can be elusive in the pocket if need be. I mean, he can move. He can make the throws you want and need him to make.
Physically, I'm not sure if he can.
A 7th round last pick in the draft contract.
I'm not totally sure
ready to win now
that he's as good mobile or with the throws that Rich is outlining here.
Come true, and that's unfortunate for Lance. If Purdy didn't happen last year, right? Wouldn't Lance be starting week 1?
No.
And there'd be a battle like, will they just start Darnold over Lance because he just isn't ready to go? Wouldn't that be the conversation right now?
No, that would not be the case.
Somebody else? Would they have gotten Sam Darnold? Would they have knocked on the Vikings door for Cousins?
Right.
If Purdy didn't happen, if we're going down the if wormhole here,
right.
like, boy, are we ever right now.
Also, what Purdy does is what Shanahan wants. He runs the offense. And 1, 2, 3 step throw. What Jimmy G did not do, as we saw, especially in the Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying about Lance. I am not being critical of his abilities or, again, Michael Lombardi has been
I don't understand the fear in being critical of his abilities. I don't get that.
Football way longer than I have. Quarterback instinct. I'm not being critical of that. I'm just saying he doesn't have the opportunities, and it's not happening again. Again.
He didn't lose a game that he was starting, and he brought George Kittle back to life.
And the question is, if Purdy somehow, some way has to come off the field in Pittsburgh week 1, who does
Sam Darnold.
Shanahan turn to? And I would definitely say it's going to be Sam Darnold.
Yes, what the hell are y'all talking about?
Absolutely.
There's a depth chart for a reason. What are we talking about here?
Not going to throw some kid in the deep end of the pool in week 1 in Pittsburgh, PA, with TJ Watt there,
Yeah.
Cam Hayward there,
yeah.
Patrick Peterson there, Minka Fitzpatrick there. Okay? You're not doing that to Lance in week 1. You're going to bring in the kid with a lot more experience.
Lance's ass. I mean, there's nothing else you can say about it. The project's over. It is what it is. It's just crazy. I mean, I can't talk about it enough. Honestly, I think we've never seen something like it in sports. We've never seen it where a guy comes in and the team doesn't even take a chance on him. He comes in and immediately it's like, whoa. This guy, we made a whoopsie poopsie. And then they just eat it. Crazy. And no other team comes knocking. Think about how desperate teams are for quarterbacks. And no one's even willing to come knocking to try and trade for Trey Lance. That is absolutely unbelievable. It's crazy. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you think, especially if you're a Niners fan. If you're a 49ers fan, let me know how you see this whole thing. I might be off base, but, very rarely am I off base. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.